Okay, now we're on. This is 100% serious time now. Hey guys, welcome to, it's a podcast, maybe shop talk, casting couch. Welcome to the casting couch, Mike.
Thanks.
This is Mike. We used to work together. We're gonna introduce him.
My name's Mike.
Yeah, I don't know. Tell us a little bit about yourself and I don't know, what were your experiences? Where did you work before here? You don't have to use specific names, but.
No, I've been just mainly mining equipment my whole career. Did a few years on commercial transport. Didn't like that at all.
Yeah.
So.
I don't blame you.
Yeah. Anything that goes on the road, there's too much rules. It's always been mining equipment, loaders, excavators, drills, dozers, haul trucks. Got a little bit to the underground mining stuff, but not too much. And yeah.
Yeah. You've always worked in this area, like you haven't done camp work, anything out of town really much, or?
No camp work, no, but I did work in Alberta for a little bit when I first started.
Oh yeah.
And I was in town and a few field calls out there, but
Yeah.
working in a shop environment there, and then came back and it was just all field work out here.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've always worked for an employer though, right? You haven't gone independent yet.
No.
Yeah.
Always for an employer.
And is independent something you're thinking about doing eventually? Like you want to go on your own?
Yeah. It's
Kind of the dream.
Yeah, the dream.
The dream.
The dream. Have your own truck sort of thing.
Yeah,
so.
be your own boss, right?
Yes.
Now everyone's your boss.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's good, man. No, that's sweet. It's awesome. Me and Mike worked together for a short time at one of our previous jobs. That's how we know each other. And I've known Mike for a few years. Like we actually both started out in aviation.
Yeah.
Which seems to be kind of a common theme among us, a lot of us.
Yeah.
We started out 2009, I think, or 8.
For aviation?
Yeah. I think it was 08 or 09, and we both got into school. We were doing our aircraft school together. Did you ever work in the industry?
No, I never bothered to.
No point.
Yeah.
Nah.
It just didn't have any good selling features on it.
Yeah, I did for a couple of years, and then I got out. As soon as I had the opportunity to get out, I did. So you're just ahead of me. You were in heavy duty before me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so. Cool. Why did you go to school for aviation? What appealed to it?
I've always grown up around like helicopters.
Yeah.
My dad was a pilot, so that's where I wanted to do. And
wait, so you knew how the industry was already, and you still got into it? See, I didn't know. I was sold on this dream that you'd be making like $200,000 a year working on like F-18s. It was always a thing. We'd always joke about that. It was like, and then you get out and you're making like 50 to 60K, maybe with all your overtime, working on the old Tunisian army helicopters.
yeah, and then then the industry just goes, and then
yeah, the industry took a huge dump on us as soon as we got out of school.
Yeah,
like it was pretty well. Actually, it was already in the dumps as we were in school, I think.
Yeah, it was definitely on the downturn.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I pursued it. I did it. I got my ticket in it and everything. I did it for like I think 4 years total with school and everything. I wouldn't say it wasn't worth it. Like it was good experience, but yeah, the writing was on the wall within my first couple of years. Like, yeah, get out of this. Like,
I think it was worth it though for like the organization to that, because the aviation industry is so by the book.
Yeah.
So I mean, it really like
5S, that kind of.
Like you really got to hone in on your like being clean, being prepared, and everything like that.
Documentation.
So, yeah. So I mean, it really dialed that in. I found.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, just the work being not there.
Yeah. That's another thing though, like that I liked about it. Like the work itself I enjoyed. Mm-hmm. I liked structures work. I liked gearboxes and components and all that. I enjoyed the work. Didn't really enjoy the pay.
No.
I don't know. You don't really, contrary to what a lot of people think, every time I talk to somebody about this or they ask me about it, I'm like, yeah, I used to be a helicopter. I just say helicopter mechanic because it's just too complicated telling them all the structures of the way aviation is laid out. There's different licenses, and it's just, I was a helicopter mechanic. I used to work on sheet metal and gearboxes. But, the work itself, like I said, is good, but everybody's always surprised when I tell them the pay wasn't there for what you're doing.
No.
I tell them what we talk about what you used to make and that. I'm like, yeah, I used to make like 23 an hour, I think it was, as a technician. Like when I left that, I was at 23.
Yeah.
And you always get promised a lot of things too. I found like everywhere was always like, oh yeah, you'll get this much, you'll do that, you'll fly here, working all over the world, it's good money. It's all for the older guys though. That's the thing too. It's a lot of like old boys club. you know, certain guys in the industry get the gravy jobs, which is understandable in a sense, but the young guys coming up in it, there's a lot of burnout, a lot of like, oh yeah, this is boring, or I'm not making enough, or you know, like the cost of living would keep going up and your wage stays the same. You got to get out and do something different. And that was my big thing. I got out and got the heavy duties.
Were you on contract when you did it?
I tried contract when I first started. I was actually a contract employee, which is like the worst of both worlds. You're employee, but so you got employee pay, but you're expendable like a contractor. Yeah. And that's what they would do, is so that they could just cut who they don't want, and you can have essentially these guys would be on contract for a year and a half. Like it's almost like an extended probation. Mm-hmm. And then, oh, we like you, we'll keep you, we'll put you on full time. So I was really excited when I finally got a full-time position. But yeah, it was kind of like a dangling carrot there for you, right? And
yeah.
I don't need that, man. There's better things out there.
Yeah.
And that industry, as far as I'm concerned, they're gonna do that to themselves. They'll shoot themselves in the foot. All the good guys eventually leave, and then they wonder why they can't find people.
Yeah.
So it's got to change at some point. Yes, you in the back.
What was your first job in heavy duty?
Yeah, I was out in Alberta. It was a smaller outfit, kind of where we worked before. But they worked on mining equipment. It was a rough shop, great guys, big equipment. So it was pretty interesting. They had a bunch of contracts with the mines. So it was a good experience for that, because you got exposed to the big stuff like 992s and all that stuff, and then all the underground ducks trucks, rock bolters. So that was where I started, and yeah, it was a good time there.
What?
Is that the same for you?
I haven't gone underground yet.
I never got to go underground.
No, I haven't done any underground stuff. I've only ever done surface mining stuff, and what we did with, like, you know, the guys we used to
Yeah,
do
open surface, open
yeah,
pit
pits,
mines. Yeah.
a lot of pits.
Yeah.
I think a lot of our experience is probably pretty similar on that side, because you used to work for, well, me and Mike used to work for, I guess, two different companies, but like kind of across from each other. Like the one company we worked on the
We would see each other on the same
we'd
site.
see each other on sites and
Yeah.
stuff, and all the guys that worked for your company, we'd always see each other all over. And
Yeah.
you kind of get this, like, everybody's kind of pretty friendly for the most part. Everybody kind of gets along, and we all know each other. We all see each other. So
Yeah.
you're almost like coworkers, but not already. So yeah, and you worked there in Alberta for what, a year?
About a year, yeah.
Yeah, and then what, you came back to BC down here right away?
Yeah.
And where were you at next? That was
That was for the fleet maintenance one, and then so that was good, but that's where I did a bit of the commercial transport side of things, and
You were doing that?
yeah. So I was just working on like
Oh,
the,
really?
Yeah.
Oh, there's cement trucks.
Yeah.
And
So I
stuff?
started there.
Ew.
Yeah. So when I came in, they didn't have a service truck for me.
Oh yeah.
So it was like, kind of felt like I was getting the old dangling carrot thing,
Yeah.
where they're like, oh yeah, no, there's a truck coming.
Don't
and
worry, we can get one. It's on order.
Cut to 2 years later, then one shows up, and I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, whatever. And as soon as that came in, jumped in there, and yeah, spent a ton of time there, and just
How long were you with those guys?
5 years,
Oh,
4
yeah.
or 5 years, something like that.
Yeah.
And then I went over to the
Yeah.
to there.
Yeah, that's when, so after that, the fleet maintenance job, you came on with us, right?
No,
Over
I
there.
had one more in between there.
Oh, really?
With yeah,
Oh, yeah, with
and then it came
the big
over.
L.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, then it came over to
Then
the
you came
to,
over.
the, to the Golden Boys Club
little
there.
P.
Yeah, small P there, but
The small P boys.
yeah, that was
Yeah.
good though. And that was a fun shop, right? So I left
Yeah,
I
man.
left doing what I was doing for the component side of rebuild, because when you're in the field, you don't get so far into it like
Yeah,
we used to.
So you, like, the majority of your career in this, you've been in a truck, right? Out in the field and stuff. So, yeah, and like Mike was saying, like, you don't spend a lot of time rebuilding components and doing that in the field. It's not really, I mean, we do sometimes, but and we've rebuilt pumps and engines and all that in the field. I've done it all, but like, you don't do a lot of that because it doesn't really lend itself to that in the field. It's not a great place to do a rebuild in a dusty, dirty quarry.
No, like
know?
some of the bigger ones we've done is, on the 988s, we've done in-frames on them
Yeah.
and stuff, and it's like, that's kind of, even then, it's like,
Yeah.
you got to really plan it for the weather too, right?
Yeah,
And
and then
hoping-
the other thing's the downtime, right? Is
Exactly.
it faster to drop a final in or rebuild it on site? Like, it's,
Exactly, right? So
you
I mean,
grab a final and throw it in, you know?
it seems like I know everyone always knocks it, like saying some people are parts replacers, but
Yeah.
when you have a machine that's costing the customer X amount of dollars an hour.
Well, you see, on that sense too, like as a contractor, my priority is to get you running again. Not, yeah, I can rebuild. If you want to save money and rebuild it and like whatever, like we'll do that. But you want your machine running because you bill it out at $600 an hour.
Yeah.
I'll get it running as quick as I can. And the best way usually is hard part swap.
Yeah.
Pull a component off, then rebuild it, then component exchange, whatever. If they got a lot of those machines in their fleet, pull that final off, rebuild it, and put a rebuilt one on in the meantime. Like, I mean, there's, yeah, the whole parts, guys love to throw that. I hate it because guys love to throw that term around like, oh, you're a parts changer. Now there's a difference between, are you a parts changer because you've diagnosed the problem, that's the problem, now you're changing that out for a good component, or are you a parts cannon and you're like, well, it's not that, it must be this, must be that. No, it wasn't that, it must be this next piece down the line.
Yeah, the
and that's
troubleshooting
the
tree is the
difference.
whole, it's just parts until it starts. But
Yeah, parts till she starts, boy.
yeah, no, I totally get it though. It's a cost over downtime thing, right? Because time is money for some of these guys, and if they have a smaller fleet, that's what they depend on, then that's what we're here to do, right?
Yeah.
It's just get them going as fast as you can and as efficiently. And like you said, if they want to rebuild the component, keep it on the shelf, then power to you, we can do that. But more times than not, it's just hot swap.
Let's circle back into where you went from the Big L, then you went to, that was your last job just before we worked together, right? Yeah. You went from the Big L, you came, why did you come work, like where I was working at the time, the shop I worked at before, I don't know, I guess that was where I did my apprenticeship, but.
At Little P.
Little P.
Little P.
P. Yeah.
I came there because of, well, I just wanted to get into some of the component rebuild stuff too. There wasn't a service truck available or whatever, but yeah, no, I wanted to get into some of the component stuff because they'd done a bit of it in the field. I mean, the extent that we usually do in the field, right? And then, yeah, so we got in there and started doing transmission rebuilds, diffs, all that overhauls on them, and doing like all the overhauls on the Komatsu machines we had there.
Yeah, because we worked there for maybe, I don't even think a year.
No.
I think I left a few months after you started. It was like 6 months after maybe. Yeah, Mike started, we worked there for about 6 months together, and then I ended up going over to the dealers. Yeah, that was a big difference. But like, so when I was at the Little P, we gotta wait for the Tron. It's so fucking loud. 2 kilometers worth of honks, man, like all the way down. I liked that shop, and I've said it before, but it was one of my favorite shops that I've worked at, one of my favorite places that I've worked at, aside from working for myself.
Yeah, no, it was different there because it was like just old school fix it.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Just, I don't know, and it was such a good mix of like equipment too. It never got dull. That's the one thing I've always liked there. It's just you never know what's going to come in the doors or what you're going to get sent out onto, right?
Yeah.
One day you're working on a WA 500 or something like that. The next day you're working on a Mini in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was one of my favorite places I've ever worked. And honestly, it was the people there that made it too. Like we had a really good crew for a while there.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I left and I went to the dealer and things kind of changed there. It seemed like after too, like kind of the door started to swing open and guys were leaving and.
So it's because of you.
Yeah, and things changed. Big things
quick.
changed.
Yeah.
Dude, as soon as it was like, I remember they were hinting something at me as I was like leaving, like I gave my notice and I was like, you know, like there's big things coming down the pipe though. And I was like, yeah, I know, but there's big things coming down the pipe this way too. So like, you know, like I can't hold out for everything. I'm kind of a very much like make my own way of it and like not wait around for stuff to change. I make it change was always like my mentality. So,
Yeah.
you know, and then that happened with the big buyout, right? And like the small company that we used to work for got bought out by a larger company. I won't say names, but yeah.
Yeah.
They're, I never heard good things after that, honestly. Like it was a mixed bag at first. Some guys were like, oh yeah, it's a little better because now we got their whatever pay scale. Pay I think went up a little bit for some of the guys, didn't it? Or something or whatever.
Before they were going to have an exodus.
Yeah, I think everybody threatened to leave, didn't they? And then, and then they bumped up the pay and whatnot. But yeah, because at a small shop, we were always a little on the lower side, but it was kind of like, yeah, we made a little less, but dude, the environment, the shit you worked on, the hours you'd get anyways. Like, yeah, you know, it'd be nice to make X amount more, but
Yeah.
I did both. Mike's done. You actually took a pay cut to go there, right?
Yeah. Big
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. Yeah.
big pay cut.
But you liked it still.
Yeah, that's
It's not always about money. Like it is. The thing is, we get paid fairly well for what we do, kind of regardless. But like, you always want to make more if you can. It's just, is it worth jumping ship and whatever for an extra $10 an hour? Like that's what I did. I went down the road, like down the highway, about 20 minutes, and made an extra $10 an hour more. At the time, it was worth it, and our schedule was nice. I was working less and making more. I was actually pretty happy. And then, yeah, it was just big corporate started to take over, and you start to realize it's like working for a big company kind of
not cool.
not cool, man.
It's got its perks. I mean, like there's some people that just like the safety net, right? Like you
Yeah.
know you're gonna get this, this, and this. You don't have to think. You just go to work.
It's easier to hide in a big company too, and a lot of guys like that.
Yeah, and you get to just you know your check's gonna clear and whatnot. But I mean, then there's always the uncertainty of if layoffs come around. It's like, have you been there long enough for you to be the first to go because you're the newest guy or whatever? So I don't know. They always looked out for us when I was at the low P there, and
Yeah.
you know we went through some. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
I did, yeah. That's again, it's not money for everything. You know, the goal is try to get ahead, but
Yeah.
it is nice to also get some experience on other stuff too, right? Because
Yeah.
component rebuild, you don't get to do much of that in the field. So
Yeah.
that's what was fun is, you know, blasting apart exploded transmissions and rebuilding them from scratch.
Yeah, that was something we should actually kind of touch on, is just like a lot of guys in their apprenticeships don't touch that kind of stuff. It's like hard part swaps is a kind of term we use. That just means you're pulling that component out and replacing it. Like with a remand component from a rebuild facility or wherever the it came from. It's just like, it's good to know how to take stuff in and out, whatever, but like knowing how that stuff works, you don't learn that until you rip it down, like what we did with the swing box there, right? So like that's why Carson's pretty lucky with what we're doing. He gets to see that stuff and like tear it in, because I do that. And that's where my roots are, is to fix it.
Yeah.
If I can, throw a set of bearings and seals in it and fix it.
Yeah.
So that was something we did a lot at the little P there, was we did component rebuilds. That was a big part of my apprenticeship, was pulling components and overhauling them, engines, trannies, axles, stuff that you don't normally see at the dealer.
Yeah.
Right, and that's why you came. Was
Oh,
one
yeah.
of the big reasons, right? So
Big time, yeah.
you did a lot of that there, right?
Lots.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was, and that's where it's just makes you a better mechanic, I think, too, because now someone calls into the transmission issue of,
Yeah.
this is my problem. You already know what's going on inside the guts of there, right? It's like you have a good understanding of what's in there and what that problem could be, so you can kind of isolate it and where your diagnosing needs to go to.
Yeah. Yeah, you know the inner workings of it, man. It just makes you so much. It lets you wrap your head around what's happening when you're troubleshooting.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially pump stuff. Hey, like.
Pump stuff, yeah, they can be, and that's the thing, is there's so many different styles of pumps and whatnot, right? So I mean, it's fun to open up and
When you get into that stuff too, you find like before it's a mystery box.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, no one knows how this thing works. It's just a box that makes stuff go.
Yeah, this just is just,
Right.
I pull this, that does that, and then there's an oil.
You find you got more confident in troubleshooting after working there?
Yeah, and I found that you could sometimes, like before, it helps dial it in to that system. Transmissions, diffs, whatever, it may be powertrain related. So I mean, and then if you just get to pull it apart too, like you're not worried when you're in the field, because you already kind of know in your head the way things need to come apart and how you need to do it safely.
Yeah.
So when it is machine mounted and you're pulling off a final, say like on a high track or something like that, you already know in your head that what needs to come out in what order and to do it safely.
Yeah. It helps you in the field because you've taken that component apart in a controlled environment, somewhere it's clean, you know what springs are going to pop out when, or if there's a retainer in behind something, you're not forcing something apart, like, and then you go in the field and you're like, okay, you know what, we can take the back of this thing off and just have a look.
Yeah.
Or we can just separate this half off and see if there's something in here, or there's a common failure on this part that I've done, a dozen of these in the shop, so I know what to look for when I go to the field.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's, I definitely enjoyed the that side of it, because it was just fun. But then, yeah, going back on the field, it is nice because, you know, you go in the shop, yeah.
You do much field work for those guys?
Not a ton.
You're kind of like the relief guy or what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, yeah, no, the field's just always been what I like.
Well, you got the field beard, so you belong out there, right?
Yeah.
That's yeah, I guess if you're listening, you can't see it, but Mike's got a mighty beard, so it's like, puts mine to shame. I only ever have like a little bit.
That's not bad.
This is a little scruffy thing.
Full?
It's full-ish.
Full-ish?
Full-ish, yeah,
So you
dude.
could be like summer.
It's like a field guy thing. I don't know, man. A lot of guys I know, I get like the big field beard. I could never do it too long because it always gets in the way. And I don't know, don't you ever get grease and shit in there, man?
Yeah.
Like,
I
can't do it.
It's self-trimming though.
Yeah.
Like, you know, when you're welding and you got your mask on and whatever's sticking.
Whatever sticks out,
You're
just
sitting there just
yeah, you just
and
dust it off
making
after.
this,
What's that smell? Ugh.
That's me. So.
Yeah, yeah. I've had my share of singed hairs.
Or the worst is when you're like working in the back, like in a cab or something like that, behind the seat, all jammed up, and you're doing something, and then you go to like move, and it's just pinched in between a cable clamp or something, or you're doing a zip tie somewhere you can't see, and then you pull away. And,
Yeah, there's a chunk of skin on the end of your.
yeah, no skin, but just you lose a bunch of hair. So.
Oh, gross.
But yeah, it's
dude.
usually just the oil collector. So.
Yeah, yeah.
Look at the sheen.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. It moisturizes and hydrates, right?
Yeah, it's waterproofing.
Yeah. Yeah, people think like, oh man, you're at that point, you never now. And I was like to Carson the other day, I was like, dude, I fuck up probably just as much as you. I make mistakes too. It's just I catch it or I fix it before it's a big deal.
Yeah.
I was about to do that and smash that and something up, but then I caught myself.
Yeah.
And I didn't.
Well, and that's the whole part of learning
Yeah.
and stuff too, is right? It's like, you know,
Yeah.
knowing what you're gonna do and what the repercussions of it
Best
are.
learning moments are the ones where you something up and you won't do that again.
Yeah.
You know, it happens and you learn from it.
Yeah, exactly. And you just hope that it's not an expensive one.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's try and make your mistakes at school.
Yeah, if you can, make your mistakes on the school machines. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what our teacher said too. Just like, you know, when you're at school, this is the place to up and
Yeah.
do it because
Well, and that's for me, because Carson's not at school. It's like a lot of the time it's like, yeah, dude, like make your mistakes with me. Like I've had to eat parts here and there, and yeah, it sucks. A few $1,000 here and there. Nothing too major, thankfully. And honestly, every time it's like things happen, I'm like, you know what? I've done worse. I wiped out a $3,000 transmission pump. A big. I went right to the boss and was like, hey man, like, I think I f***ed this up. And I'm sorry. Oh, you're gonna do it again? No. You learned something from it? Yeah. Okay, well then we're good.
yeah.
We'll take it off your next paycheck. And I go, okay. But you know what? Companies have that, you know, they got insurance and they got all that stuff. And yeah, it's not ideal, but man, like, yeah, like, you know, you got a good boss like that. Like I said before, favorite place I've ever worked, because when that happened, like all those guys working there had been there too. Most of them had been on that side of it where, oops, you know, and yeah, it sucks. And whatever, you swallow your pride and you learn from it and shit happens. But
Yeah.
that was what I liked about that place. Sometimes you learn the hard way, but they were good about it. You know?
Yeah, you're not getting punished.
Yeah, you're not getting made to feel like an idiot. Well, maybe a little bit.
Well, they'll poke fun at you.
They'll make fun of you for it, which is different than like being shit on for it, right? Like there's a difference between a guy like making you feel like because you made a mistake and like, you know, oh, you're an idiot, you know, or I wouldn't have done it that way or whatever. It's like, you know, hey, Mr. Tranny Pump, like,
Yeah.
you know, like, yeah, there's a difference, right? And yeah, you get a nickname sometimes, whether it's like whatever,
Yeah.
Tranny Pump or Crowbar or something like that, right?
Yeah.
That's how you get the best nicknames, just because you something up. I don't know. Let's talk about. So you were at the Little P. You were a mechanic for a little while. 2 years? You wrenched there?
No, I was there for 4.
You were there for 4 years?
Little P was a year, and then it changed.
Yeah, then it changed to the big.
Yeah.
I don't even know what we can refer to them
Nah.
as. Whatever.
We already know.
We already know. They're gonna be watching this like, you fucking no, whatever.
It's called them.
No, so you worked there. You were a mechanic with after the takeover. You wrenched there for a couple of years still, and then
Yeah.
went into that.
Yeah, so I did the...
Talk about your transition, why you did it, tell me about that. What made you want to do that?
To go up?
Yeah.
He wants to know about your transition.
Oh.
Tell me about your transition,
Oh,
brother,
my transition.
man. Yeah.
Well.
Is there a better word we can use for that? Are we gonna get canceled for talking about Mike's transition? His glow up, I don't know. Tell me about your glow down, I guess it'd be.
Yeah.
He went down to, Mike stepped from a mechanic down to management, but I'll let you tell the story. You tell me.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I was pulling wrenches there for X amount of time and then went and did the lead hand thing and was kind of managing the shop.
You were in the shop though, as lead
Still
hand.
pulling
Yeah.
wrenches, And then we had the Great Divide there and they needed someone. So it's like, don't want to be that guy who just didn't want to let him just sink, right? So I mean, try and help out. So I got approached to go into management to manage the shop and the field. And I always wanted to I've always been interested in the business side of things too, right? Because owning your own company, it's all that stuff too. So I took it as an opportunity, and I still get to go back into the shop and do some diagnosing with the guys. And you go on not necessarily on the field, but if you need to go quote a job or whatever it may be, right? So you're still dealing with some customer-based socialization, I guess, or face-to-face meeting. I don't know. So you do that. It wasn't bad, but it's each place works differently, as you know, like the dealership mentality, like corporate stuff and blah blah blah, and you have different deadlines and stuff you need to meet, and then it just makes you look when you go back in the shop. You're like, I'd rather just be here. Like that's what I enjoy.
Yeah,
Pulling
simple.
wrenches.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was a good experience. I'll give it that though, like for understanding like more of the business side of things and the number stuff and
how to organize and run things and
keeping the guys
deal with customers on the money side of things. Because as a mechanic, a lot of times you just that's what it is. Okay, bye.
Yeah.
The bosses will invoice you.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So I mean,
you're not worried about that. It doesn't matter if it took you 8 hours or 16 hours. Like you go home and the bosses figure that out.
Yeah.
Right? Like you don't care at that point.
Yeah. So I mean, and then the quoting side of things too. It's like you start, getting and keeping your shop busy, and then your field guys busy.
Yeah.
So I mean, and you have those are kind of two separate worlds.
How many guys were like under you, I guess, in the field and the shop, like working? Like how many guys were you managing? I guess technically.
It was 6.
6 guys.
6 guys, yeah. So it was still a small crew, but
4 in the shop, 2 in the field.
Yeah.
Is it? Yeah.
One was a resident mechanic though at
the mill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and then we just had the one field tech who is our go-to guy and.
Yeah.
But and they're two separate worlds, right? Because you got the guys that just strictly want to, they'll always bring their machine to the shop because they don't want to, have the field charge being, field's more than the shop.
Yeah.
So you got those guys, and then you've got the ones that just need it fixed now. Like, downtime is crucial. So.
Yeah.
But it was good, and then.
So because you've been in the field, and in the field you deal with either customers or operators or whatever you want to call it, but like did you ever have to really deal with customers in the field when you were like before P? Because it was all these like fleet maintenance and stuff, right? For the most part?
It was mainly you could kind of call them the customer because each site was managed by someone.
Yeah.
So you could say like they were the customer.
Yeah.
Because they're the ones that are paying for it because they had so many different sites. So I mean, you could say you're kind of dealing with them and scheduling downtime and to the next job, right? Because if they had 15 pieces there or something like that, then you're... Did
you notice any difference going from that to the P and dealing with customers? Like your interactions with customers, are they different? Because now they're a paying customer versus like a guy that, you're essentially like you're their fleet maintenance mechanic, right? At the other places?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. I always found, because I've done both as well, like being like a fleet maintenance guy, like being the company's on-site mechanic or whatever versus like working for customers. It's like your timeline just, I don't know, just things feel different, like you're seen as an expense a lot of times as a fleet mechanic because like, we just pay you to be here and fix stuff and whatever. Like, I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain, but when you're a contractor, you're seen more as like you're coming here to solve the problem. Like, it's an expense still technically, but like you're not costing a company all the time, only when you get called out to fix something, and then you're getting them back into production too, right? So it's a little bit different mentality I find with customers.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because I mean, at the big companies, they have that capital to have that there.
To have a guy on hand, pay him 140 a year all year just to sit there, and there's nothing to do.
You're never going to have some smaller customer have that, right? So and they're a lot more thankful, I would say, because they don't have that. They may not have that money to just be like, okay, well, if that thing's down for this month, we'll pull in a rental machine.
Yeah.
A lot of guys aren't going to do that. Yeah. So, or if it comes to a big part, some of them have to wait because they don't have that money. Whereas it's just like, okay, get it in here as fast as you can, and let's get this going.
Oh, I deal with that a lot, trying to quote jobs out and stuff, and it's like, it's like a line boring on a stick, and you know, the guy's got 2 or 3 machines, and he's like, oh, I'm gonna hold off. I'm like, okay, sure, whatever. Like,
that's that, and that's where I find, like, you give them the solution, tell them what needs to be done, like, and you can give them that bare bones option. Yeah. Or you can.
Oh, and then I quote another guy out on a center hitch. He's like, yeah, when can you do it? Yeah. Because they got, a dozen machines, and these things are always pushing, material and making money every day. Like, they need to work. So it's like, how soon can you get it done? Yeah. Is it going to be more expensive if we wait?
Everything
let's do it.
Usually.
Everything is, so yeah. And then it's, at that point, it's just like, rip it apart, get it done, send it back, send them a bill. And, no complaints, right?
No. They're just happy that they're able to push dirt again. And
well, because that's a big thing with, as a contractor, a lot of times you're saving guys downtime because their machine's broke down and it's sitting and it's not making them money. I have the same mentality like with my service truck. Like my truck's down today getting fixed, and I schedule downtime when I can. And when it's down, like something broke down, I am like on the horn, and I'm like, I don't care. Not like I don't care what it costs, but dude, my mentality's changed now from like, oh, it's kind of shop around, or I'll wait and do that or whatever, to now it's like, okay, that truck cost me X amount a day when it's down. I need this fixed. I don't care if it costs me double what I would make today to fix it. I need it fixed today so I can go to work tomorrow. Yeah. And now you can see like where a customer would think like that too. You're like, they call you and they're like, dude, I don't care if you have to cancel your jobs, I'll pay your cancellation. Because I have guys that have said, hey, I need you here today. What's it gonna cost to get you here today? Like, well, you gotta pay emergency now because I'm canceling this customer's job. Do it. Okay, sure. Yeah. And you're canceling a job, and you're prorating that previous customer that you were at, maybe because you already started, so you don't want to charge them twice for travel or whatever. And then you're charging this guy that because someone's got to pay for my time at that point. Yeah. And they don't care because, hey, this got me running, a day sooner. It pays for that extra $500 difference, let's say, in the premium and the travel time and all the other stuff I had to bill this guy instead. And that day sooner, they're like, yep, 100% worth it because I don't have 5 laborers standing around doing nothing and a machine sitting.
Exactly, yeah.
So you're not seen as like a hero, but you're seen as like you're saving customers downtime on this side of things versus being an expense somewhere. Yeah. So, I agree. So you came from the little P mechanic, you went into management because you wanted the business experience. That was a big thing for you, right? You wanted that? Yeah, because you always wanted to go independent and kind of do your own thing, like. Because me and Mike talked a long time ago about him possibly coming and subbing with me before all the Tekamo stuff even. Yeah. I was like, hey man, like I'm trying to find more help, and I don't need to get rich off of somebody. I'd rather have everybody be doing well and get your own truck. Let's bounce stuff off each other, whatever. If you want to sub, you can sub, whatever. So you went from the business side, then, let's talk about that. What made you want to come on board with us here? And I mean, when I say come on board with us, I don't really work for Tekamo, but you came on to Tekamo as an employee, right? Yeah. Okay. Let's chat about that. Tell me about it.
Yeah, no, it was the opportunity there's something new too, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, just I have that option to go independent and still do like the sub stuff that you do. Yeah. In the future.
What's the difference in your positions from where you were to here?
Where I was management. Yeah. Now I'm here and back on the wrenches.
So you're back on the wrenches.
And the freedom.
Full time, eh? Yeah. Back to freedom.
Yeah. No, back to the good stuff. Yeah. That's what I wanted to do is, I don't know, Felt like I was kind of just withering away too some days where it's just like you're pulling your hair out and you're just tired of looking at a computer screen and it's like, this is not for me.
Yeah, you're just getting soft and old and sitting in a chair all day.
Not cool. It's not fun. So, yeah, maybe when I'm like 100, but not right now. So then the opportunity came up. So
make hay while the sun shines.
yeah.
Yep. So yeah, so you wanted to come here because you were back on the wrenches, that kind of stuff. I mean,
Back in a truck.
back in a truck. Yeah.
I don't know. That's kind of what that's what I like. That's what I did. So go with what you know.
Yeah.
And it's also just a different opportunity for other things.
Well, I think and this is like our shameless plug for Tekamo, I guess, is that's a big part of working with Tekamo is like you don't have to, it's not just a job, I guess, right? Like it doesn't have to be just a job. So,
No.
you know, you got that option to come and subcontract and
Exactly.
you get to have some control over what you're doing.
Yeah. And that's
know.
what's cool, right? I mean, like you're not, like I was talking to them earlier, it's just like a lot of places you're going in as a field mechanic, they expect you to come in there with your wrenches turning, like get going, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, you know, you can kind of have the planning, scheduling stuff out, making things work, and you know, same thing.
Yeah, you got to be here minimum 7 to 3:30 every day, like no flexibility, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, plus your overtime and all that too, which is expected as a field mechanic.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So I mean,
You want time off, you book it off months in advance.
and
I mean, it's not to say it's a free-for-all when you're a contractor. It's not.
no.
But like the other day, I took a Friday off. I was just bagged. I was done. You know, and I was like, okay, I got a lull. I can push my Friday job to Monday. I can send Carson out and do something else instead. And I'm going to take Friday and go to Whistler. And I went for a ride.
There you go.
And like the freedom to like make things happen when you want to is like, you know, you can't beat that as a contractor. And I mean, it's like I said, it's not a free for all, but there's times when you can do it. If I was at, I would have been expected, even if there was nothing there to do, you could bleep out that name. Then I'd have to show up still, even if there was nothing to do.
Yeah.
Which, you know, happens. Yeah, sometimes there's slow times.
Yeah, and that's the thing that sucks is like, you know, when you're at those companies, you're expected to be a sundial for some days, and it's like,
and like, yeah, you're getting paid, I guess. That's the benefit of employment. Yeah, you'll get paid to do nothing sometimes, and like pay Carson to do nothing sometimes. To whatever, that's part of it. But you know.
But I mean, having the freedom to do now your scheduling and stuff like that, where it's like, you know, you can go do that, and it's like you don't have that kind of like guilt
Obligation.
trip. Yeah, but then you also get that
like,
guilt in the background from like,
dude.
when you get back to like, oh well, he was in here, sort of thing, right? So
Yeah.
I don't know. That's what's appealing to me too, right? You know.
I rarely feel guilty now about stuff, like about work stuff, and I don't know. I honestly, at this point, and like nothing is 100% certain and whatever forever. It's just like right now, I could never see myself going back to a regular job. Like I enjoy this too much. I enjoy what I do. I enjoy that I can do stuff like this without feeling any pressure. Mm-hmm. I can sit down and have a chat with you in the middle of the day because I am my own boss and I can do this. Yeah. You know.
Well, if the phone rings and you know, like.
I ignore it. Yeah. If I want to.
If you don't want to answer, you don't have to answer it, and if you do, you do.
Yeah.
Or if you want to hand it off to someone else.
If it's important, leave me a message, shoot me a text. You got my number. Customers have that understanding of it too. You know, and I will get back to people. It's not like I ghost people, but that's the thing. It's like you don't
ghost me all the time.
I do. I ghost everybody eventually. Like, but no, like you know, it is different, and but that's, you know, touching on that. You got to be. And it's something I kind of have to drill into Carson a lot, is like, not a lot, but like, I'm like, okay, you got to be a self-starter, man. Like, if I'm not here yet, you know, because I'm delayed somewhere else, and like, I'll meet him on a site. I'll go to, yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. If I'm rolling through Starbucks and they're taking their time with my friggin' blonde roast because it's not brewed yet at 5 a.m, and I'm like, hey, man, like, go on site and just look busy.
Exist.
Because we got some customers that we do regular stuff for, right? I was telling you about that. We're there a few times a week. Now, that's not to say I want Carson to just show up and look busy so we can bill them. No, I'm not even billing that time. Yeah. I eat it. Yeah. But I want Carson to be that kind of guy that's like, hey, man, it's 6 o'clock, and just because Cam hasn't showed up yet and he won't be here till 6:15, I don't want Carson sitting there waiting for me. I want him to move, start doing something. Just go clean fucking windows in the cabs, do
Go
something.
inspect them, just walk around. You're gonna find stuff.
Look busy and be busy. If you got time to lean, you got time to clean. That old saying, right?
Yeah.
Just that's kind of and because we don't have a shop for him to check in at in the morning and just do something.
Yeah.
That's the expectation. Okay, man, if I'm not here yet, or I get delayed, or if I had to run out somewhere else and you're on site there, just look busy. I'm gonna pay you. I'm paying you to work, so work and look busy. It's not billable time to a customer, but if I'm gonna pay you to sit in your truck or pay you to actually clean and do something, I want you to do something.
Well, more times than not, even if you're just walking around a machine, you can find stuff.
Exactly. Hey, man, find more work, right?
Well, exactly, right? You can write it down for them and build off of that. So, I mean, it's also a good experience in that sense because...
Yeah. And he's been getting that lately, is that he actually goes out, and when he, like the other day, he showed up on site before me because I had to go fill the truck up and the pumps were backed up and slow. And I'm like 15 minutes behind him. And I get there, cubbies are on, he's on the machine, and I'm like, that's what I want to see, man. I just want to see that, just be moving when I show up.
I'd say you could always just do get them to do like just like pre-trip them.
Yep.
Pre-trip the machines, right?
Yeah.
I mean, even though you're not the one operating it, it's a good habit as an apprentice.
No,
right? 'Cause
definitely,
you
and
go
actually
around your
that's a good
checks
idea.
And, check your grease points. Make sure you don't have broken grease lines because, operators like smash those things off like there's nobody's business.
Yeah. Dude, you just gave me a huge light bulb. I'm gonna start getting them to pre-trip all their stuff then.
Well, it's just something, right? And then you can build off of
Well, I
it.
usually just get them like, go walk around and like check, just do a general check on stuff, whatever. Look for
As an
leaks and
apprentice,
whatnot.
that builds your confidence for knowing where stuff is on the machine. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
Go check the oil. Go check your fluids. Go check your filters. See when the last time they're done, right? So compare that off your sticker in the cab. Is it still there? Check your lights and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then if you can, fire up the machine, run it through a little bit of a cycle test. You hear any squealing pins? Is your auto greaser filled? Does the machine even have grease?
Yeah.
So it just builds confidence in a younger mechanic too, right? So when he goes out and he does get that job where he's on his own, say it's a service,
Yeah.
he knows where those filters are.
Hey, we should circle way back to your apprenticeship. Did you do your apprenticeship mostly in the field? Like by yourself?
I did, yeah. I did.
A majority of it by yourself?
Yeah.
Did you ever work with a guy in a truck? Like roll around with him or ever?
No.
Not like with me and Carson?
No.
He's pretty lucky. I told him that. I was like, dude, I was thrown to the wolves, man. Like at the P, like it was like, hey, man, I want to go in the truck. Can I go in the truck? Like, please?
Yeah.
And then they sent me in the truck eventually, and it was
An eye opener.
in the truck. Okay, go do this. Okay, first job I did, come back, it's leaking after I come back. The guy calls, he's like, your guy didn't even fix it. The thing's like pissing oil. And I was like, they're like, well, did you test it? I was like, well, I mean, I changed the one hose that was leaking, but there's two hoses that are rubbed through.
Oh, yeah.
So
The ones that are side by each.
but I didn't know this. I was a dumb apprentice, right? I just like changed the hose. And I was like, well, I don't know how to run this thing. It was a Packer, right? And they're hydrostatic, and they're a little tricky if you've never run one before, because you got to, you got to sit in the seat and whatever.
There's the vibratory stuff.
Yeah, and I'm like, there's a lot of switches here, and I don't know what to do, so I changed the hose, and I'm done. Topped it up, left, and the guy calls back in the morning. He's like, hey, it's leaking still. Guy didn't even fix it. So I had to go back, and
That's where you get checked right there.
But that's where, hey, man, that was the first job I did, and I got slapped in the face hard with
so
it.
now you know, every time you go in that job, you're going to always check
Nick
your
told me
machine,
that, man. He
test
was
it.
like, always check the machine. Always run it up after. Why wouldn't you run it up or something like that? I was like, yeah, you're right. I know. I'm sorry. He's like, oh, it's okay. Just go fix it
now.
Fix it right.
Yeah.
And I went on site and customers there, and I was like, yeah, I'm sorry I didn't catch that. And you know what? The customer was good about it too, which was the nice part, because I didn't get yelled at first. So
Yeah. I mean,
getting yelled at's always good, but the customer understood. He's like, oh, you're just a stupid kid who didn't know any better. So
you can use the apprentice card for only so many times.
yeah, you only can use it so many times, and then you start coming out all confident. You're like second year, third year apprentice, but you think you know what you're doing, and then some guy treats you like you're a fully ticketed guy, because that's what he expects you to be. And then he yells at you, and you're just like, yeah, I'm still a stupid apprentice. Yeah, well, that doesn't fly, because you got a nice truck and you got all the tools, so you should know what you're doing. Like, yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I worked with the two guys that are really good mechanics that I apprenticed under. So that's where I got lucky. It's like they trusted me to do stuff, and then as I got more experience on that side of stuff and working with them, and
Yeah.
you kind of just go on your own and fly at it.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's still, when you're an apprentice, you pick up the phone and call them.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what I'm doing. Or you run and you get as far as you can in your truck.
How old were you when you first started doing stuff on your own? Like, where were you at? Like, you're 21,
20
22,
or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. See, Carson's 20 now, and I'm actually gonna start throwing him. Well, I've been throwing him at little stuff here and there, but I've gotten to this point where I'm thinking, I'm like, man, like I gotta get this kid. It's like sink or swim at this point. I want him to do stuff, so like I can't hold his hand forever because then you don't really learn. And that was kind of like what I was at. I was thrown out to it, and it was sink or swim. So you only got one choice, like, you know.
Yeah.
You do what you got to do, and you
Mr. Customer wants your machine, and you're gonna fix it.
yeah, and you figure it out. And like, you know, he's asked me some. Not, I'm not like I said, not to talk to me as an apprentice, but like he's asked me some really dumb, like what I thought would be a really dumb question on site. And I'm like, dude, like you don't know that. But then I'm like, oh yeah, you're an apprentice.
Everyone has to start.
Nobody
from somewhere.
knew that. I didn't know that.
No.
And then I'm like, hey, what are you gonna do when you're on site and you ask that question? Like, you know, like, oh man. But then I'm like, hey, you know what? No, I gotta actually get him on there and get him in that mentality that like, yeah, I want to see him succeed. So to me, somebody was telling, we were having a chat in one of the Facebook groups about this, and a guy showed a picture of a broken off brass fitting inside an engine block. And he's like, well, apprentice got asked to change an oil sensor and it snapped off, so now I get to fix it. And everybody commented, they're like, make him fix it.
Yeah.
He f***ed it up. That's how he learns. You f***ed it up. What if that thing was out in the field and he was on site with his truck and the shop's 4 hours away? Like, now you got to fix it. What are you going to call the journeyman out? 8 hours round trip travel time for him, and he's going to work till midnight to get that stupid fitting out that you broke? Like, no, you fix it. Yeah. That's how you learn. You know.
Well, so you start them small, right? Like a lot of it's servicing.
Pull an engine, split a machine, small.
Yeah.
Apprentice jobs.
In frame, go.
Yeah, dude.
It was a good experience.
I
I
think I was a second year and I did an in-frame on a 980C over at
the P.
Yeah.
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 So yeah, I got to do the in-frame on 988, and I think I was second year, third year, something like that. But yeah, it was like pretty much like he would sit there, like we had all the parts there, and we were doing the stuff, and he's just like, go for it.
Yeah.
And then I just like go as far as you can until you don't know anymore.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well.
I've been doing that more and more with him. Like
Yeah.
he's like, I'm like, hey Carson, go for it too. Like, this is your job. Start to finish, do everything, hours, serial number, record your do the job, do the whole thing. Write me a story after.
Yeah.
And he did a cooler on a Liebherr the other day, a whole cooler package, like all the coolers had to come out, and put a vacuum on the tank, capped the lines, got it out, threw it on a pallet. Like,
perfect.
I did a little bit here and there when he was like, oh, can you just, you know, spot me while I'm taking this out so we don't punch a hole? Yeah, sure, I'll be a second set of eyes. I don't want to pay for a cooler right now.
Yeah.
So I'll do that.
Aluminum isn't cheap.
You know, but dude, it was awesome. And you know what? It freed me up to go and do other stuff on that same site for these guys. I was fixing other machines while he was doing that. So I was like, dude, I got billable time with you finally, and I got billable time because I'm freed up now here.
Yeah.
Like, man, you know, I prorate his time. Obviously, I can't bill him 1-to-1 because he's an apprentice. But you know, because that 8-hour job would have taken me 4, let's say, you know, like that kind of thing. But still, like, it was nice to have that production. And when I left him to it, I think instead of asking a question, maybe, like, not that it's wrong to ask questions, but I think he would think twice about the next question he was going to ask. Like, oh, how do I take this apart? It was, oh, okay, how do I take this apart? Oh, maybe if I do that. Then he would answer it himself almost, you know, and just do it. Because I noticed he asked a lot less questions that were just not dumb questions, but like really, you know, I don't know how to explain it without sounding like a dickhead on a podcast, because everyone's gonna be like, well, no questions are stupid questions. No, there are dumb questions, contrary to what you might think.
Yeah.
I've heard some pretty fucking dumb questions.
There's some dumb questions, but no, those are just beginner level.
Yeah.
Like, it's stuff when you're in apprenticeship. You're still learning about.
I think he went less of the level 1 questions and more of like, he can answer those himself now, and he's asking level 2 questions, which is like, okay, if I'm like, where should I put the vacuum on the tank, or how should I do that part? You know, or like stuff that's a little more advanced than what a level 1 would do. Level 1 wouldn't even know to do a fucking vacuum on a tank and pull the.
Level 1, you're still learning about hand tools.
Yeah, you're still learning. Yeah,
They're treating you about safety and hand
treating
tools.
you like a yeah.
Yeah, no, and that's good though. But I mean, like what I've always done too is like if you work with someone that's like we had some other apprentices that we at the other companies,
Yeah.
and you give them a job and say, go as far as you can go.
Yep.
If something doesn't feel right or look right, stop.
Yeah.
Either think it through, or if you don't, like if you're absolutely stumped, like then you can come ask questions, and
Yeah.
you know that's because you got to be able to think for yourself.
Yeah.
It's like same thing with troubleshooting, right? If you give someone a machine and say you got this is your problem, go through your troubleshooting tree and see where they go with it, and they go totally
Yeah.
backwards, right?
My phone was just going off like crazy there. Yeah, dude, like you're
Disrespectful.
I haven't thrown him at too much troubleshooting yet because I feel like that's a little more like I'll do the diag and then he'll do the component pull, whatever.
Yeah.
And that's a good way to start. But yeah, the troubleshooting's coming for him. One thing I do tell him, I'm like, okay, Carson, this should go easy. Like if you're, and not to say that like we do an easy job. It's not that. It's like, hey, Carson, if everything is lined up and everything is like squared up and the way it should be and all the bolts are out, let's say pulling this thing, like this should come apart easy. You shouldn't have to like sledgehammer this or bar it and like go crazy to get this apart. This should go easy, and if it's not, stop. Yeah. Rethink it. Going back together, hey, this should fit easy. Your engine and tranny should slip together. You don't have to force it, because that's how you crack a $3,000 transmission pump.
Or torque converters.
What?
Oh, I knew someone that did torque converter.
Yeah, I did the 3 clunks on the torque converter, got the tang in, and then when I was putting it in, one of them must have slid out, and the tangs came out. And when I went and put it on, I was like, oh, it's close. And then stupid apprentice move, I stuck a couple of bolts in to keep it lined up, and I'm pushing it, put another bolt in and give it a little cinch to see if I can close the gap, and crack. Killed the pump. And that's just, like I said before, that was that dumb mistake I made. I learned from it.
Yeah.
And you know what? Now I tell guys, hey man, it should go together. You should be able to almost, within reason, you should be able to like push that together almost by hand. Stuff should go easy in this trade. Everything's designed to fit together. If it's aligned, you ever do a boom pin on a machine and you can push it in by hand? Yeah. Like that's when you got it lined up. Like.
Or where you're doing the stick cylinders and you can just slide it all the way through. It's the continuous pin. Yeah.
Just like go right through.
Too often, especially when you got like the.
If it's old and stepped and it's all cammed and like all cam lobed out and all worn, that's one thing.
Yeah.
But for the most part, you should be able to push it together just fairly easy, or at least like boom base pins. I told Carson yesterday we took a boom cylinder off. I'm like, dude, that pin should come out nice and easy if it's not stepped. Just stick a bar in there, wiggle it, just slid right out.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have to hammer the thing and beat on it. If it's seized, that's one thing, we're torching it, whatever, but like stuff when it's aligned and it's squared up and whatever, generally it goes fairly easy or smooth, not like, U-joints going in all chunky and feeling like shit after a brand new U-joint install. I shouldn't do that,
No. Yeah. No, it's like when you're doing like transmissions, like coupling those to the engines and stuff like that, you might need just a little bit of a tweak on your crane, but everything should just.
Yep, you should close that gap without any forcing.
Yeah.
No pulling in with screws.
Yeah, you're not pulling it in with the bolts.
No. Yeah. So, yeah. No, that's good stuff, man. It's fun having an apprentice. I like it, I would say maybe it's not for every guy to take on an apprentice.
You have to be patient.
You gotta have patience. And honestly, sometimes it's not worth it maybe financially for you if you're an independent to have an apprentice. Yeah, it might just cost you money. Honestly, yeah, maybe it costs me money too, but I look at the long game, like in the big picture, and I'm gonna have a guy that I've trained up that does things the way I like to see them done. It's the next best thing to cloning myself. It's so hard to find guys like now.
Yeah.
That was my thing. I was like, I want to find another guy. I want to get somebody. And then I'm like, man, it's so hard to find a good guy. I guess I just got to make one. Like, essentially, that was my mentality. And maybe I'm going to shoot myself in the foot. But to me, it's worth the risk to take somebody on like that and try it. And honestly, I encourage them too. Like, hey, if something better comes along, man, and you want to, whatever. I'm not making you promises, and you don't have to make me any promises. It's just, let's take it as far as we can. Let's do as much good stuff together as we can, and maybe in the end it'll be worth it.
Yeah.
Now he's my son. I'm just kidding. Oh man.
The adoption papers are signed.
Yeah, adoption papers are signed. No, he's a good kid though, and it's nice to see. Like the biggest encouraging thing for me was seeing his progression.
That's nice.
That
Yeah. See,
was
that's where it's rewarding.
Yeah.
It's
And
like if you're not feeding them all this information for nothing.
Yeah.
Where you just feel like you're hitting your head against the wall.
Yeah.
And you're actually getting something out of it, so you're not just talking to yourself.
Yeah. And you don't see it too until you step back and you're like, okay, where was he like 6 months ago, 9 months ago, a year ago? You're like, oh, dude, he's come a long way since I first hired him.
Yeah. And then, once you start putting them onto more stuff on the zone,
Yeah.
the questions will become less, and it'll be
Yeah.
let him spread his wings.
That's right. Spread your wings and go.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's Mike with Tekamo. Here, you do it. You introduce yourself.
Introduce myself.
or
I'm Mike
we-
with Tekamo.
Yeah. He's Mike with Tekamo. I'm Cam, contractor with Tekamo.
What's your company?
My company is Blue Tech Equipment, and I'm a contractor with Tekamo HD. If you want to be a contractor with Tekamo HD, fill out our form in the description box, wherever it is, you'll find it. It's on our website too. Check out our resources page. Just check out our website. Just click on it, just for no reason at all. Just click on it, just so we can get our clicks up.
Yeah.
Just check us out. I don't know, we're growing.
YouTube.
We got a lot of cool stuff on the go. I'm super excited actually to have Mike on board with us because A, it frees me up because I'm overloaded and I've been trying to get guys. But no, it's a really cool opportunity. I think we're gonna do some really fun stuff together, and I don't know, man, it's more than just a job. That's the big thing. It's more than just a job, so yeah. All right, till next time, leave a comment. Yeah, you want to see us double team something? Like, there's your thumbnail. No, yeah, it'll be good. It'll be good to work together again.
We'll go do a full midlife.
Hey man, if we got some big jobs, yeah, we'll get both of us on it. We're gonna try to get, we're trying to get more like cool repair content for you guys too. So yeah, we're always working on that. Maybe now that we got 2 guys, we'll get twice as much. Yeah, so that's how we made the transition or the glow up from aviation. No, it's aviation to heavy duty is a glow up, man.
Yeah.
We moved up.
Yeah, going to management is glow down.
We moved up. I can't do it. We're going to watch the hand signs. We moved up, onwards and upwards, man. Yeah, we went up from aviation to heavy duty. Yeah, thank you, Mike, for your casting couch.
Debut.
Yeah. You did well. You took it like a champ the whole time.
Thanks.
Yeah. The guys are cleaning themselves up in the back, but stay tuned. You'll see the full video released in the next month or so.
It's optimistic.
Yeah.
Join our network. Come along with me. Let's go. Get in the fucking truck.